We would now like to begin with a very important topic amongst the 16 principles, assessment and accountability, which is lesson number 19. Let us first begin by defining what do we mean by assessment and accountability. So the definition is as such: being viable to report or explain one's activities, conduct, or discharge of responsibilities. So are there any examples in Shastra where great souls have shown regular assessment and accountability towards their superiors? So they would every day go and report in the evening. Even Haridas Thakur reported his sadhana and seva. And Nityanand Prabhu would do the same. Any other example? Jiva Goswami, very nice. So they would give their book distribution plans and reports to Jiva Goswami. Who else? Any examples of regular reporting in Shastra? Or any example of a devotee feeling accountable? Yes. Vyasadeva is feeling accountable to Narad Muni. In the beginning he was feeling accountable for the not up to the mark performance of his writing career. And then he invoked presence of Narada for getting further guidance. Snatasya me nyunam alam vichakshva. He said to Narada Muni, please tell me what is nyuna, fault in me. Why am I not happy despite doing so many services? Any other? Yes? Bharat Maharaj to Lord Ramachandra. He put the Paduka of Lord Rama on the throne and he was accountable to those Padukas. Every day he would go and report how the rulings has been happening in the kingdom. Amazing. All those Alvars, especially King Kulashekara and his dynasty of kings, would regularly go to Ananta Padmanabh Swami temple and daily report their activities to the Lord. So once they would go before going to the court, and while returning in the evening, again they would go back to the temple and report. They were in the mood that I am not the king, the Lord is the king, and I am simply a caretaker on his behalf of this kingdom. Any other example where accountability is seen very prominently in Vedic leadership?
In Ramayana, Hanuman and their team is accountable to Sugriva. They have to report like that.
Yes. So Hanuman, when he gets the message of having found Sita, pacified her, burnt Lanka, and then come back again, where does Hanuman go for reporting? Directly to Ram? What does Hanuman do? Hanuman comes to his teammates and he tells them, this is what happened with me. Now let us all go together to Sugriva and tell him, and then Sugriva will go and tell to Lord Ram. If Hanuman wanted, he could have taken nicely all the credit. Anyways, he did it all by himself. But he was thinking, because I was part of this team, I was empowered to do this. So I should not take a singular credit. Amazing example. We also have Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was lamenting for the war that happened because of my desire to rule. So many people were massacred. We also have example of Brahma when he was running after Vak, his daughter, and later on he came to his senses. He shed that body. He let go that misconception that he had developed. Lord was telling to Chatushkumaras, I am accountable for the misbehavior of my servants. I can lop off my arms if that need be to please you. This is too much. Somebody saying such things. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj at one point of time, he writes this in Servant of Servant book. Prabhupada wanted him to be in India and be the GBC and do a lot of groundwork. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj had a personal desire that he should be in America, and he had just started a Radha Damodar bus party along with Vishnu Jana Swami, and they should do it as a preaching together, and they would recruit and spread Krishna consciousness all over universities, in America. And there was a kind of a tussle. Prabhupada finally reluctantly gave him permission to go back to America. So after some days, I think after months, when Prabhupada finally came back in America, so Prabhupada said, which meant, where are the results? So, and then Tamal Krishna Maharaj was prepared for it. He just went outside and gave an ishara, indicated, and one after another started coming in the room through the door. Saffron clad, bright faced, shaven head, brahmacharis. Everyone having a red rose in their hand. Everyone would come, put it at the feet of Prabhupada, put a full dandavat. Go and stand on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know how many, like 20, 30 people came like that, all saffron shaved up, and put dandavat and stood on the side. And Prabhupada, every time the man was coming in, he's beaming, his smile was becoming ear to ear, and Prabhupada was glowing, in happiness, seeing all these wonderful results. And that was the result, of his preaching that he did. Radha Damodar bus party, within their 1.5 year preaching, I heard, made 165 brahmacharis and sannyasis. None of us can beat that record put together. They were so powerful a team, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu Jana Swami. So Vishnu Jana would attract with his sweetness, softness, purity and singing emotionally. And then when they would go on the college campus, the boys would get attracted like honeybees, to Vishnu Jana Swami and his kirtan. And then he would send them inside. And sitting inside the bus would be Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and anybody would come ask any question they wanted. They would sometimes criticize God, criticize religion, scripture. He would smash them to powder with his logic and impenetrable, presentation of Krishna consciousness. And it was interesting. They go on the campus, boy enters from one, gets attracted to the kirtan, enters the bus from one side, out he comes, shaven head. One time program. And this was like too much. So this is how Prabhupada was so happy to see that preaching, to see where is so, that means where is the report. And he very nicely describes this in Servant of Servant. So all of us should similarly be accountable to our superiors. Why? Not just because these great acharyas have done it. Why? What happens through assessment and accountability? I told the answer in the previous class. When we are regularly accessible and accountable to our superiors and we do things through their blessings, our activities are part of spiritual energy. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakrutim ashrita. And if we do things whimsically on our own strength, making independent decisions, we are performing karma. It doesn't count under the category of devotional service. Although we may accomplish so-called big things in our service, they are neither approved nor appreciated. by the parampara. So, what are the benefits of assessment? Very nice. We get a clear understanding of where we are to go, and what are the intermediate steps. We get absolute clarity about it when we do this on a regular basis. Very nice. Any other? Yes?
We will remain in our stretch zone, otherwise we may become comfort.
We will remain in stretch zone. We will not go in either comfort zone or panic zone, because we will know how much can we handle and what is needed to be handled. Any other? Yes? Yes, the mistakes can be rectified much ahead of time rather than after doing great damage. So we can change our course of action. It's called proper navigation. Any other?
We get a sense of success, sense of accomplishment.
We will get sense of accomplishment because every time we take a review, we also understand how much has been already done, and that can also encourage us. Any other? I would read a few that I had written. We will also get to know our weaknesses and strengths. Especially we'll get to know our blind spots. You know blind spots? We all have blind spots. We don't get to know certain flaws in our character or certain flaws in our activities. Like if I have a black on my nose, then I don't know I have it. Somebody has to tell me, Prabhu, and then you come to know there is a black there. So that's called a blind spot. So we can rectify those very early. It also helps us develop Vaishnava qualities, especially humility, tolerance, and respectful behavior. And we can't fool ourselves and others. It bursts the bubble of illusion. Sometimes we tend to think we have made progress or advancement. And sometimes when you do the assessment and regularly and see, we understand nothing has happened yet. Let us not be proud. Okay. Now the question is, what happens if we don't assess regularly? What will happen? Oh, we can sometimes await ghastly surprises suddenly. What else? Unsurety, doubt. We give that example. If you are driving a vehicle and you are pressing the accelerator, but you are not sure whether this road is the right road to go, then you also put 1 foot on brake, 1 foot on, you are very reluctant to make a progress. But once you are sure that this is the right road that goes to the right destination, then you go full speed. So no unsurety. Any other? Huh? There will be rest. Okay. Any other? We will feel lack of responsibility, which eventually will lead to actually character flaws. It doesn't end there. When a person feels less responsible for small things that he does, he eventually becomes highly irresponsible in major things. And that actually disturbs his integrity and character. Any other? What happens when you don't assess? Okay, superiors also find difficult to trust us because we are not reporting regularly. We feel unsheltered. The worst feeling in the creation. To feel unsheltered. मुझे कोई देख नहीं रहा है, कोई मेरे लिए परवाह नहीं कर रहा है. I am again a vagabond, in the Maya's kingdom. Any other? Less enthusiasm. One, I think It generally happens when you don't do regular assessment and accountabilities, we become puffed up. We really think high of ourselves. And it leads to no improvement in our selves or in our service. So can you tell me what all things we can hold ourselves accountable for? Yes. Okay, first is our sadhana. Then seva. And then preaching under, let's say, Sankirtan, outreach activities, and Vaishnava relationships. How are we training ourselves? I think we'll call it as self-development. Are we taking care of it or not? Any other? No, I'm asking, what should we allow ourselves to be held accountable for? We agreed there is already one person, we are in front of them now. And then what are those things that we should be accountable for? That's the question. Time utilization. I would add one more item, there is time and finance. Time, finance and facilities that we use from ISKCON. Very crucial. Sometimes our subordinates give whatever you ask. You tell them iPod chahiye, iPad chahiye, ye chahiye, wo chahiye, they give. And often we have seen that fellow, he has put the iPod, in the bathroom, in some toilet kit area, and he has gone somewhere. So it's actually a symptom that he is careless, neglectful. So these three especially, how are we utilizing our time? How are we utilizing the finances at our hand? Especially money related, follower related, and facilities that come across like gadgets or other things. We at least have to have one person who knows in and out of us what are we doing with them. In fact, it is better that we create a very transparent system of handling them, which is open in the air. Anybody can come at any point of time and check it. This is what is happening. And especially our dealings with women and children. Of course, cows and old people are not so much involved. And brahmanas. Unfortunately yet. Actually, the success of leadership is dependent on how happy these 5 personalities are in his kingdom. How happy and protected they feel. Children, women, old people, brahmanas and cows. Cheerful. That means the leader is really good. Because the strength of a chain is known by its weakest link. So to the degree these 5 members feel greatly happy and cheerful under some leader's protection and nourishment, that degree, that leadership is very excellent. Another thing I would like to add is our internal responses to provoking situations. So what are the provoking situations that came in our life? And plus, what were the internal responses we were giving to them? How can we make it better and better? You agree? This is an important aspect to be accountable for. Otherwise, we never get trained. वो हम अपना घिसा पिटा फॉर्मूला हमेशा लगाते रहते. Hard time provoking situation come, we have a standard protocol of how to deal with it. Use abusive language or say harsh things or run away. You know, one temple president was telling, when in my temple things are going very smooth, nobody bothers much. But when there are heated arguments and managerial difficulties, they suddenly start such a hangama. Then what do I said, what do you do then? He said, I go for Tirtha Yatra. At that time. And I come back after 1 month. Things have to settle down somewhere or other. So what kind of management is this? So, the more we become accountable in these things, the more we access spiritual energy and we become empowered. And the more we try to, think, I will handle it myself, why go and tell somebody? To that degree, we postpone our surrender and thus our spiritual advancement. Is there any problem Krishna cannot solve? What do you say? So why is it that we have such a difficulty going and opening to a Krishna's representative and telling our difficulties to them? That's again because of ego and fear of losing, facilities and position. And that's why we don't want to be accessible and accountable. But we have to train ourselves otherwise. One time, one guru was telling his disciple in our movement that people bigger than you and me have fallen down. And therefore, whenever any of my disciples becomes successful, great fear strikes my heart. Interesting. Whenever my disciples become successful, great fear strikes my heart. Because usually that success leads to lack of assessment and accountability. One thing now I understood, I can manage. And this is where seeds of fall down usually are sown. One of the major reasons why ISKCON had such a difficulty, especially after the initially appointed GBCs fell away, some of them. And why that issue happened was majorly because of lack of assessment and accountability. To another, now somebody may say, Prabhu, I am such a senior man, I am the top number one man in my whole community. Abhi kisko assessment karne ka? What do you suggest? TP in general, he is a top man, right? Who is he supposed to be accountable? To his GBC hardly comes. He comes once or twice in a year. His guru, he meets maybe 3-4 times in a year. He should be accountable to them. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that, yes. Yes, within that community or somewhere, he should find some Shiksha Guru in whom he can repose his trust and seek guidance. Also, especially, it is not that accountability is only towards senior. That's the point I wanted to bring out. Accountability is also to your equals and to your juniors. We are accountable even to them because they watch us day in, day out. Karta kya ye vyakti? So therefore, there is self-accountability, there is superior accountability, equal accountability, and juniors accountability. When our juniors find that even as a big-time manager, this person is so accountable to report to me, Ki Prabhu, I did that service and it is done now. They feel great inspiration to be accountable themselves. So that's called managerial accountability towards the temple. Like yearly, the temple TP, VP are supposed to produce their budget, their expenses, who did what, all the report of the temple, send it to GBC, and not only that, publish it for their own community to read and come to know कि क्या हुआ एक साल भर में. So that kind of what you call cross-cultural accountability creates a very healthy community. Everyone is accountable to everybody else. So we should not ignore or hide or pretend or typically selectively report. You understand this term? Selectively report. We know that if you reveal 3 of the 5 things, you get one type of decision. And when you reveal all the 5 things, you get another type of decision from your superiors. And so we tend to manipulate them. In one of my counseling group, I had a boy. He was in NIT Warangal. He eventually was trying to get a job in Pune, and he was not successful. So I was trying for him in other places, Delhi, Bangalore, any place, Calcutta, wherever he can get his software job. So one day he came to me, Prabhuji. I said, what? I got a job. I said, Hari bol, wonderful. He said, I got a job in Pune. I said, Hari bol. He said, I got a job of being a professor in an engineering college. I said, wow, this is like a dream come true. Because, then he can have peaceful life, regulated lifestyle, Then he said, Prabhu, you pata hai, where is the job? I said, don't know. He said, 5 minutes from Kunji Bihari temple, Prabhuji. I said, hey, this is too much, to get a job like this. He said, but there is one problem, Prabhuji. I said, what is the problem? It's a girls' engineering college. I said, you are not going there. Get out. Because he wanted to become brahmachari in future. So I said, you are not taking that job. And he knew that. He exactly knew that after all the whole good thing that he tells, when he reveals the 5th thing, the decision is not going to be favorable. But he had that integrity, honesty. If he had not told me, how will I know? He'll go, we are not going to check him, who is he teaching. So this is what is needed in assessment and accountability. So also one important thing is we have to make this reporting and training a very encouraging phenomenon. It should not be like a like a autocratic Hitler Shahi. Everybody comes and reports, and then saying "Hukum mere Aka." This is not the phenomenon. This is not a cultural environment in which reporting should be done. It should be actually done in a desire to improve ourselves. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So there are these 3 things we regularly need: someone to validate, optimize, and navigate our service choices. Validate means to first approve whether this is according to the vision of ISKCON, according to instruction of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Validate. Second is to optimize. When we ask questions to superiors who are expert in those fields, they can actually optimize our efforts. There may be 10 ways to do something, but one is the most optimum way. So they will tell it to us, okay, do it this way, it will work the best. And finally, navigate. The flight that generally takes off is always in touch with the ground base station. And 90% of the time the flight is off the actual trajectory. But because there is a feedback system, navigation, what happens? Eventually it lands in the right city. Similarly, we need regular navigation in our spiritual life to safe land, achieving our desired goals. So this is about accountability and assessment. So please devise for yourself what would you like to report to your superiors. First of all, decide who that superior is. So there are 2 types of authorities. Spiritual line of authority is Prabhupada, your guru, your Shiksha guru, counselor. And then there is managerial line of authority. There is Prabhupada, there is GPC, there is temple president, vice president, management body. To either, we should have accountability. So whom to report to and what to report. Please devise that for yourself. On next 2 pages, before that, any comments or questions? Yes.
Like this system we are seeing here, basically a person is taking initiative to report. Like this is like from down to up sort of approach. Like we take initiative when we are reporting to our service authority or spiritual authority. Can it not be a system where it is coming from up to down, where such certain systems and standards are there, where they are taking some report or something and they are monitoring us, something like that?
Thank you. Actually, I was about to go into that topic. This, I very heavily spoke on we being accountable and accessible. Why? Because usually the tendency is as we become leaders, we grow, we tend to be less accountable and less accessible. So first we need to set that right. And second reason is when we become so accessible and accountable, then naturally our subordinates feel inspired to be accessible and accountable to us. So now comes that point, what you are saying. So this assessment and accountability is not just that we report to somebody, but also we devise systems in such a way that our counselees or our service group members or our team is accessible and accountable to each other. So we have to devise that and put it into system. That there would be regular meetings, Ishtagoshtis, there will be regular review of the strategic plan, the mission, KRAs, leading up to action steps, and then people talking about it. So I will give you a 3-point formula. Every time you conduct a meeting, what should you ask your people who come in the meeting? Just 3 questions. What have I done? What are my next steps, plans? What help do I need from the team? What are the 3 questions? What have I done? So that they report. Okay, I have accomplished 1, 2, 3, 4 things. What are my future plans? Means what would I like to do now? And number 3, what help do I need from the team or from this superior leader? So every meeting should have this 3-point questionnaire asked to each member. That naturally brings them to optimum level of accountability to the whole team. Is that okay? So on next 2 pages, there are some feedback related, how to give feedback, what is the purpose of feedback, how we should not confuse feedback with criticism and coercion. And there are simple methods to give feedback, which are also discussed. That's for your home study. It's self-explanatory. But the point is, please repeat after me. Feedback is the breakfast of the champions. So the more you get accurate feedback about your behavior and policies, the better servant you can become. So feedback is the breakfast of the champions. They really like it, from whichever source it comes. So then on next page, there are 3 types of feedback. Stop, start, continue. What would you like me to stop doing? What would you like me to see start doing? And what are the things I am now doing you want to see me continue doing? So that is one way to ask feedback. Then top-down feedback. So you better go to your superiors and ask them. And also you can do that with your subordinates. There are 4 steps to help your subordinates assess themselves. So you ask these 4 questions to your subordinates. What are they doing well? Where do they think is room for improvement? What are their plans to improve? And how, as a leader, can I do better or help you do better? The last one, leaders 360-degree feedback. So there are some questions given, and it would be worth it that you give this questionnaire to your all teammates. and anonymously also you can allow them to write or type, because sometimes we recognize handwritings. They can type. In our temple, we have various ways by which we try to hear to the grievances and disappointments that devotees are undergoing. There are 3 systems in place. Number 1 is we have a devotees@voicepune.com, one email ID created, which is accessible to all brahmacharis. So they can log in from any account and they can shoot any mail they want. So usually if there is a problem going on in the temple, one devotee is saying, there is this devotee who has suddenly started coming and sleeping in our room. We don't want him to come, but he's a senior man. Or someone is saying that we are spending so much money, in construction. Where is our money being spent on, this, say, deity seva or education of devotees? So that kind of feedback, they send it on a common mail, and it usually goes to a body of all TP, VP. Straight shoot out, whatever they are feeling about. That's one way we should create a forum. Second is called Ombudsman. I hope you know the system. Ombuds means a person in an organization officially appointed for handling grievances. Anybody can go and tell. Like when I was working in my company, it was a car designing company, we had one managing director. He had a bad body odor. You would stink like anything. And if you get caught up with him in a lift, you are finished. At the end of the whole, 2-3 floors that you go, you are dead. It was so horrible. Now who will tell him, use deodorant, Baba, bathe twice in the day. And if you go and tell him, you will be shot out from the company. So then you can go and tell your ombuds, please tell our MD, so and so, that he should put deodorant on his body and take twice a bath a day. And then without taking the names, that ombudsman will convey कि आपके लिए एक input. So it's very sometimes difficult, right? So senior people, how will you tell some such a sensitive thing? So this is second thing, ombudsman. And third is have regular ishtagoshtis in the temple, where as a community devotees respond to the management, whether they are happy or unhappy about something. One of the typical topics in our ishtagoshti that goes longer is prasadam menu. That everybody knows. It's very difficult to satisfy. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, all tongues are there. To satisfy everyone's requirement is a big task. So anyways, but that culture has to go on, ishtagoshti, management meetings, where a whole community comes together and they discuss how to make our temple a better place for us to stay and for us to contribute. So what are the 3 things? Create anonymous mail IDs or phone numbers, whatever, to get feedback as leaders. Let people speak up somewhere, at least. Second, ombudsman. So in our temple, usually the ombudsman is the counselor for the councilies. And if not, then we have an officially appointed BWC, Brahmachari Welfare Committee, and there is an in charge for that. And people can go and talk to them, whatever they want to download, as grievance. And third is ishtagoshti, regular ishtagoshti. And if we don't facilitate these forums, and especially when we are on those forums, we take things too personally and make an issue out of it, then you will stop getting any feedback in future. Then people will say, you are a tyrant. You are anyways going to do what you want to do. Better know you go to hell. I don't care what happens. So we have to be careful. That's why that discussion, don't confuse feedback with criticism and coercion.